NCAA. Let's ride! What are you doing? Sport!
Ladies and gentlemen, if you know, I'm already getting smiles across the board. I love it. So that is the brand new intro for a brand new show, Foursquare Sports. This has been a long time coming. I mentioned this on my Instagram at Sirius Sports that this was going to happen, but that is the brand new intro for it. I want to give a shout out to Random Music Redux on YouTube. I want to give a shout out to him for allowing me to use the instrumental for this. And if you don't know what that song is, for all the rock fans out there, that is Shinedown's Cut the Cord, which is also a former title for an episode. But anyways, I am Matt Sirianni. I'm from the Garden State of New Jersey, and this first episode is entitled Who Let the Dogs Out? Why is it called Who Let the Dogs Out? Because we've had a lot of upsets in many sports, whether it be tennis, which we're not going to discuss because of conflicts, NCAA Baseball, NBA Finals, and so many other sports. It's been crazy how many dogs have come out on top. And we have a phenomenal panel and even more coming soon. So, obviously, I've been here the entire time, even the previous incarnation. John Welch from Seattle, Washington is here. How you doing, John?
Really good, Matt. Really good. You know, this is supposed to be a quiet time for sports, but it's been an exciting week, so I'm looking forward to today's show.
Same. I had to edit my agenda literally at the last possible minute, but it's only to keep the quality as good as possible. And we got two I'm going to say two newcomers, but two people to help us unwrap the present, if you will, to this brand new show. First off, I got to go to a former Light 'em Up champion. She is from the state of Illinois. She's Brew Crew all the way in baseball. She once had a show, and I think she's going to bring back Pitches Be Crazy, the one and only Lily Schumacher. Lily, how are you?
I'm good. I will have to correct you there. I live in Illinois, but I'm from the great state of Wisconsin.
Okay.
Green Bay, all the way, born and raised. So, but I'm currently residing in Chicago, so I'm doing well, though.
Okay, that's awesome. That's amazing. I remember when we used to go together on Light 'em Up, we used to pair up, and you used to kill me every time we did Light 'em Up.
You know, it's crazy to think about all those debates and how heated things got, but it was always a lot of fun.
It was. It really was. Next, we got a man who is very famous in Canada. He is the man of Voices of the Fans in Canada. He is Canada's own Toronto Maple Leafs fan all the way. The one, the only, Randy Cooray. Randy, how you doing, buddy?
I'm good, man. I'm also from Wisconsin as well. No, yeah, but no, all is well, Maddie. Thank you so much for the invite.
Anytime. So we have a lot to get to today in many different assets and avenues, but I do want to get into the MLB first because we did have some breaking news in regards to the Arizona Diamondbacks. This came out not too long ago. Corbin Burns is getting Tommy John surgery, and this comes as a massive blow to the Diamondbacks starting rotation. Corbin Burns had to come out of a start recently because he felt tightness in his elbow, and now we know the repercussions of that injury. He will be done. He'll be shut down, and unfortunately, the Diamondbacks, who are 4 games out of a wild card position, I believe, this is something that they did not want to see. But I remember we talked about it on a previous incarnation. We mentioned that the Diamondbacks would be a competitor or really competitive in the NL West. This changes everything now. And the Diamondbacks, they were right there. They had a shot. All they had to do was just keep it going the second half of the year. But now this derails momentum. Lily, I know you were high on the Diamondbacks before the season began. Now what do you make of this?
I think it's a huge blow, obviously. And I think, of course, when you lose a pitcher of a caliber like this, it's really difficult. He was 3-2 in 11 starts, 64.1 innings pitched, 63 strikeouts, and a 2.66 ERA, which is, baller. But I think there's a chance they can still bounce back from this. I'm not super familiar with their farm system, but we've already seen a lot of teams do this year. Honestly, a big one, Chicago Cubs have done it after losing Justin Steele to an elbow injury as well. they've still been crushing it, doing well. They also have lost Shota Imanaga, also doing well. I think the Diamondbacks have an opportunity to still find their way through and make it happen. It's just that you have to rely on things beyond, your pitchers, and you have to really hope that everything else is firing on all cylinders and you can find somebody that can step in just enough and do the right things. But I think the bigger blow here is financial for them.
Yeah.
The fact that he's in year 1 of 6 in a $210 million contract, and now you're probably going to have him down for who knows how much of next year, if not the entirety of next year.
Mhm.
And I would say that might be the bigger issue for them here. Not only are you putting yourself out of, contention maybe this year, but years to come, and that's going to impact your entire salary, roster, everything. So I think that's kind of where I'm looking at this situation a little bit more.
Yeah, it's a shame because the Diamondbacks had a lot of potential. When you look at their roster top to bottom, they had potential. You figured that they would, at least be pissed off that they didn't make the playoffs last year because of the Braves and Mets, and also the fact that they missed out on winning the World Series a couple years ago. You figured that Corbin Burns would jolt them, but now it's gone. Randy, when it comes to the Diamondbacks, Randy Lilly did mention before that they still have a chance to bounce back and maybe pivot and maybe keep going and keep some momentum. But does it affect you psychologically as a team to basically say one of our top pitchers is gone? We were giving him a lot of money, and now all of a sudden we don't have him. What does this mean?
It's an excellent question because I think that if there is one sport that is very individual, it has to be baseball. In the sense that, look, for all these years, we've had one team with 2 of the best players in the league, in the sport, and the Angels with Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani, and they did absolutely nothing. And Corbin Burns and starting pitching altogether is 20% theoretically of a baseball season. So,
Yes.
I don't know if I think that I don't know how much of a team sport baseball is. I think you definitely need so many components to create a winner. But if one piece of the pie is out, I don't know, especially at this time of the season. In the regular season, it's a different story maybe when it comes to the playoffs, especially with starting pitching. But I don't know if there's a real psychological factor for the rest of the team with Corbin Burns out.
Yeah. Listen, when you lose one of your top guys or one of your highest paid offseason acquisitions, that could be a blow. And I know, John, it's mentioned all the time, durability is best availability, and having a full roster. They always say you're good if healthy. The Diamondbacks, a little bit disappointing, but they managed to hang in there. Who in the rotation should step up now that they suffer a blow like this? Who in the rotation for the Diamondbacks could theoretically make a push to be probably the guy that the rest of the team can lean on?
That's a really good question. I don't know their farm system as well as I probably should. But it's definitely going to have an impact on their rotation. One of the things that all MLB teams flex, a muscle that they flex, is their pitching rotation. And the Diamondbacks worked hard and spent some money in this offseason to build a really good team and to have a really good rotation in 2025. Which, if you look at it, in 2025, injuries to pitchers has been a huge theme so far. You look at the Orioles, the Rockies are obviously deteriorating in all aspects, but I think the biggest team to breathe a sigh of relief at this point is probably going to be the Padres, because the Diamondbacks were hot on their heels. And everybody's chasing the Dodgers, obviously, but it'll be really interesting to see what chess pieces the Diamondbacks use to kind of fill in and kind of put a Band-Aid on their pitching rotation.
They got to adapt at this point. You just have to adapt. to a situation and try to make the most of it. I mean, we've seen teams do this a lot, but I mean, we'll see how Arizona can bounce back from this, if they can bounce back. There's still plenty of time. I mean, there's 100 games left in the season. There's obviously time to pick out a combination and actually, figure something out. But with Arizona, they're in such a tough division. I mean, you got the Dodgers who are really good. The Padres are really good. And like you mentioned, they have a full, healthy rotation. The Giants are competitive. And the National League as a whole, I mean, you look at the Mets, you look at the Cubs, you look at the Brewers who are starting to gain ground in the wild card race. The Cardinals, I mean, that's a team that we'll probably discuss later on. But it's amazing how one team can go from contender to possibly pretender, hero to zero with one fatal blow. And that's, I think, the most tough thing about it. We'll see what Arizona can do. But I want to get into other teams in Major League Baseball. I mentioned the Brew Crew.
Mm-hmm.
So the Brewers over the last 10 games are 9-1. And if you go to the NL wildcard standings, they are one game out behind San Francisco. And I know we have Brew Crew all the way with Willie Schumacher.
Mm-hmm.
How are the Brewers doing it? Because they were far back a long time ago.
So something that I will say I noticed a lot during their games this season had been that they just seemed to not have really a spark. There was something it felt like was kind of just missing from the team. And they had a lot of the right pieces already in place. Their pitching staff has actually been doing pretty well. It's nothing flashy besides Freddie Peralta, but beyond that, it's kind of been a lot of guys, making up innings and getting in there. This year, Chad Patrick has been a huge piece for them, who, again, kind of a random name who you wouldn't expect. Jose Quintana has been wonderful in his appearances for them. But it's not a very flashy rotation. Their bullpen has some really, stellar arms, Trevor McGill, hard-throwing Abner Uribe.
Mm-hmm.
But their offense really was lacking. And it just seemed like they weren't able to get anything going. They brought up Caleb Durbin, tried to see if maybe that would stir something in them, and it helped them a bit, but wasn't anything crazy. But the biggest thing that I think happened for them this year was Christian Yelich starting to produce in the way that they've needed him to. I don't think anything will ever compare to him to the 2018-2019 seasons, but he has had a incredible, I would say, past 10 to 15 games, and has just looked comfortable at the plate, has been swinging well, and has been slugging, which is a huge, I think, component for this team. And it seems like the young guys around him, having this veteran player all of a sudden stepping up and playing at a caliber he should always be playing, has done a lot for them. It's also boosted Jackson Chourio. He's been having a lot better games recently.
Mm-hmm.
And it just seems like they were able to kind of find this in, first of all, I would say the starting point, Yelich's walk-off grand slam against the Boston Red Sox. And after that, they went on to sweep the Red Sox, sweep the Phillies, and then take 2 out of 3 from the Reds. And it just feels like they're kind of falling into place again. And we're able to say, hey, we can hit well. We don't need to bring in an all-star slugger and crazy free agent, because that's just not how they do things. They could. Don't think it will happen. But we have it here. And if we continue to just work on this and work through it with each other, we can make something happen. And it just seems like they were able to find that spark. Because again, I don't think they ever looked like a really terrible team. I don't think they looked amazing at times, but it was a thing where I'm like, something just doesn't feel right. And over the past handful of games, I've been seeing that that's the team that I think they can be. So it'll be interesting to see if that can, continue, and if this is just that little nudge they needed to go forward.
Well, I definitely know they got the wake-up call in the beginning of the season when they went up against the Yankees and got slashed for the most part.
Yes.
And it looks like you're doing better closing games out without Devin Williams.
I think so. I mean, again, I went through this with Josh Hader where, you lose your number one guy, and that one hurt really deep. With Devin Williams, when he came up and, again, was Rookie of the Year and one's Reliever of the Year, it was like, you kind of knew he wasn't going to be sticking around for the long haul.
Mm-hmm.
So I was a lot more prepared to say goodbye to him. And I also felt pretty comfortable with the arms they already had in the bullpen. Like I mentioned, Trevor McGill's been unreal as a Brewer. And when Williams was injured last year, he stepped in and I think was 20 for 22 in save situations. So I knew we were going to be okay. And again, I mentioned him earlier, but Abner Uribe was a huge piece to get back healthy. And now he's been back in, and he's been another big part of that bullpen. So I feel pretty comfortable without Devin. I I appreciate all that he did and everything he brought for the Brewers, but I'm happy to see him, doing other things.
Hey, listen, sometimes I guess Pete Alonso did you a favor because then you got to utilize other arms in your bullpen.
Exactly.
Now we're going to get into another team, and this is for our Seattle Seahawks savant, but also Seattle Mariners marquee guy, if you will. The Seattle Mariners are now a game and a half back of the Astros. This is kind of similar to what happened last year when the Mariners started off strong. They were in first place. They had one of the best rotations and pitching arms in baseball, but their offense stunk. Now their offense is a little bit better, but now Houston's kind of come up on them again and kind of swept the AL West from underneath them. Like I said, Houston's a game and a half ahead. There's still plenty of time. John, what are the positive takeaways you've got from Seattle so far this season?
So one of my favorite stories this week was Cole Young getting called up from the Tacoma Rainiers. Seeing some of the videos that went viral of the coach stopping the game and sending him to the locker room and saying, "Hey, you're going up." Watching his phone call, talking to his mom, crying, talking to his brother, and then the very next day, him hit his first hit in the big leagues, and that's just a shot in the arm that you don't really get unless you have that kind of energy that Cole Young is bringing. And one of the reasons that they brought him up was to re-energize the Mariners' offense that has kind of been slacked off in the month of May. JP Crawford had a horrible May. So, one of the things that they need is to get back on their bats. And it really feels like the Mariners do this every year, not just last season, but they start hot and they cool off right away. So I really like what's happening in Seattle with them trying to reinvigorate their bats and get back on offense. And they're not afraid of digging into their farm system if they need to.
Now, one thing I don't think you had on your bingo card, did you envision Cal Raleigh being the major league leader in home runs at this point in the year?
Well, we don't actually call him by his real name here. He's the Big Dumper. And he's been coming on the last couple of seasons. He had a really good 2024 season. And I think he's the first pitcher to have 5 seasons with as many home runs as he's had before May. So I think if you're a fan of the Mariners, you've seen it coming. But as outstanding as he has been this year, I don't think anybody saw that.
It kind of shocked me a little bit just because Cal Raleigh, well, catchers as a whole, catchers aren't really known for hitting a lot of home runs. But 24, he has more than Ohtani and Judge, which I think is really surprising. I mean, Judge started off really blazing hot with the home runs. He kind of cooled off a little bit. Ohtani's steady with the home run ball. Cal Raleigh, I don't know where this came from. I don't know if he's using a torpedo bat behind everyone's back or whatever, but whatever he's doing in his technique and his swing, it's working. And
it's really exciting. And it's the first time I've ever seen a Mariners catcher up there with Piazza.
Yeah, very similar. Very, very similar. Now we're going to go into another team that's actually in the thick of things for the playoff race. I guess signing Vlad Guerrero Jr. back to a long-term extension, $500 million and a $305 million signing bonus, probably jolted the Toronto Blue Jays. Randy, I want to come to you next on your Blue Jays. So the Blue Jays, if you look at them, they've started off June pretty strong. They've taken 3 of their first 4. What have you seen in the Blue Jays that's bring optimism to Blue Jays fans?
I have no idea, because the reality is that I think that there is a consensus that we don't know really and truly what Vladimir Guerrero Jr. is, in the sense that obviously his pops is who he was. Guerrero Jr. was a toddler when dad was playing with the Expos and tipping the cap. There's so many pictures, there's so many links of Guerrero and Canada, that obviously there's such a love affection for the individual himself, but there are times where he appears that he's completely dogging it. Things are maybe on the up and up now. It remains to be seen if it's substantial, but he obviously has had the pedigree to have MVP like numbers. But and other times that he's rather ordinary. Bo Bichette, he had a very difficult time last year. And there are a lot of pieces to make a decent run. I don't know if they're have the ability to, threaten for the division crown, especially last year, the Yankees and so on. But there are pieces here, and they just completely stubbed their toe in the beginning of the season. As you said, Maddie, they are turning it around now. And I think that there is potential, maybe make a wild card spot. I don't think that I think you are correct that they do have the potential to win a few ball games and make a little bit of noise.
They definitely do. I mean, one thing that I'm looking at the AL wild card race right now. I would never envision that the Rays and Toronto Blue Jays would be in the thick of things. I see Tampa Bay in there. I'm like, whoa. But Toronto's right behind them. It's kind of amazing. I mean, like we mentioned, Seattle fell off a little bit. The Royals are trying to hang in there and be relevant. But even the Royals and Mariners, they're only a game out of wild card position. It's kind of amazing.
Yeah, and I mean, hey, I guess that's the beauty of baseball in June. What is it going to be like a couple months down the road? So, is what we see now going to remain through the stretch drive? Who knows? But they are starting to pick up, and obviously, winning, having a great series against the Phillies is, a great start. But they also took care of the Athletics, and a lot of people were wondering if that was just a mirage. I mean, it's the Athletics. You're supposed to beat the Athletics, blah, blah, blah. But I mean, you have to play. Herm Edwards said it himself. You play to win the game. So hopefully they could keep the momentum going.
Yeah, I know we're in June, but think of it. Let me think. Well, I don't get April, May. I'm counting my fingers. Look at me. June, July, August, September. We're about a third of the way through the season. A little bit more than a third. 162 games, 100 left. We're a little bit more than a third. That's actually kind of incredible, actually. Time goes by way too damn fast.
Really fast. The funny thing I wanted to say, too. Oh, no, go ahead.
No. Wait till you get to my age. Please continue.
Between the Brewers, Blue Jays, and the Mariners, kind of when I was looking ahead at this episode, I was like, there's a lot of kind of similarities to all three teams of where they're at right now, and just starting, like, all in their own ways, trying to find their ways out of mediocrity and, jump up, either whether it's just, I think for the most part, just this season, and just finding ways to win and to stay relevant and continue to show up. And that was just something I couldn't help but think about when, we were doing this episode, is that they're all kind of not the same team, but they've got some similarities between all of them.
Yeah. That's a good point. Now, I hate to spoil all you guys, but the Yankees, they're up 7-0 in the midway through the third against the Boston Red Sox. And the Yankees are in first place in the AL East, too. Something that I kind of expected. Thank God I don't have to run around my neighborhood with a Red Sox jersey on at this point. I wish I had some wood to knock on. But now, Josh Gibson's back in the lineup. He hit another home run today. Aaron Judge is on the heels of getting to 400 batting average again. Unbelievable. And, I mentioned Aaron Judge and, what he brings to the table. But I got to say, this 2025 lineup is probably better than last year's lineup, because last year's team was focused on Juan Soto, Judge, and even a little bit of Giancarlo Stanton. But now you got better contributors like Trent Grisham, former Brewer, putting in the work, and he's had a couple big hits. Ben Rice in DH or even first base, he's been really good. Paul Goldschmidt, very solid, very, very solid. Judge doing Judge things, and then you got Jason Dominguez. What a spark his bat has been. Volpe has his moments. Austin Wells has his moments. Third base has been kind of an issue. I know the DJ LeMahieu thing. Now that Cabrera's gone, he's probably gonna be out for the rest of the year. Peraza hasn't been too good. LeMahieu, like they're probably rotating in and out for third base. I would like to see a little bit of improvement there. But other than that, I can't complain with that. Max Fried has been doing really well. Carlos Rodon has had some really stellar performances here and there. Will Warren, I would like to see him grow, but still, it's like he's a work in progress, and he's been a work in progress since he first got called up. So it's all good things for the Yankees right now. I hate to spoil it. I'm sorry to be like a Debbie Downer to the three of you. I really am. But it's just like it's good to see. What wasn't good to see was to see the Dodgers put a slacking on us 18-2 on Saturday night last week. That's another story for a different day. My friend Leroy Antonio, if he were on this show, he'd probably talk about the Dodgers beating us 18-2, but it is what it is. There's always room to grow, but I think with this Yankee team, hypothetically, they're better now than they were last year. Like, as opposed to depending on 2 or 3 guys, you have a complete team effort, and that's why I think this team is doing better in.
I feel like the Yankees are a team for the past few years where whenever I've watched them, it's really felt like it's about a few guys and not about a team. And
Yes.
every game I've caught this year, they feel like a team. And I know that's such like a arbitrary thing to say that, doesn't necessarily have any stats or anything that goes with it, but it feels like there's a little bit more fun to be had with them. And, obviously when like Judge is hitting tanks, things are great, vibes are always
Yes.
high, but it doesn't like whenever I catch the games and it feels a little bit more like there just feels like there's a better energy, a little bit more youth to it where
Yes.
they seem excited. And I think that chemistry is just one of those things that no matter what is kind of what makes a good team a good team. And that's a little bit of like an X factor I think they've had more of this year where also too in the past I get annoyed, Yankees are winning, whatever. It's just one of those teams that you kind of can't help but like hate on. But again, every time I've watched a game this year that they've been included in, I've been a little bit more delighted by it. And
Yeah.
it just seems like they're having a good time. And the energy's right. The energy just seems really right.
It does. It really does. And, I can say from the bottom of my heart, Trent Grisham and Ben Rice are better than Giancarlo Stanton and Juan Soto. I can confidently say that. Although Juan Soto is picking it up a little bit in Queens. He's picking it up a little bit. But
I was wondering, Maddie. I was wondering if you were. There was some salty talk there.
I'm over Juan Soto. I'm over.
Are you really? Okay, good.
I'm over because I remember the last time I was on Voice of the Fans, I made a little petty rant about Juan Soto.
I need to clip that one, Maddie. That was beautiful.
Oh my god! If you get that clip, please send it to me. But no, I'm over Juan Soto. Good for him. I mean, let's see how you perform in the playoffs. But the Mets are doing good too. Pete Alonso's probably been more the star than Juan Soto's been. Also, Francisco Lindor's hitting some nukes too. People don't talk about Lindor and how good he's doing. And they split in Los Angeles too. I don't think people understand that. Also, one more thing about the Yankees before I go on. Ryan Yarbrough, if you had told me that he'd be a decent starter 3 starts in, I would have said you're absolutely crazy. So that's my end of my Yankee spiel. I apologize. But now we're going to get into a different level of baseball. But one thing I wanted to say, for those who don't pay attention to NCAA baseball, there have been quite a few upsets in said tournament. And what's amazing to me is that you never know how NCAA tournaments are going to go. And I like it when we have upsets. I'm a fan of upsets. I think they're the greatest thing to happen in sports. And I know Randy mentioned, baseball and the NCAA in general. Like, they have a format, and the format works, and the system works. Also, I guess aluminum bats are the way to go in NCAA baseball, which I think I would. Well, if you watch the games in NCAA baseball, they use aluminum bats. The games are like 12, 11, 12, 10, 8, 9, 8, like stuff like that. It's actually kind of incredible. But to go over the upsets that happened in the first weekend of NCAA baseball, I'm going to breeze through these really quick. Vanderbilt, the number 1 overall seed, lost to Wright State of the Horizon League. Texas was ousted by UTSA. Georgia lost to Oklahoma State. Clemson got knocked out by Kentucky. Oregon got knocked out by Utah Valley. Ole Miss got knocked out by Murray State of the Missouri Valley Conference. and USM was eliminated by Miami. Now, this is all regionals. So for those who don't know about NCAA baseball and how the tournament works, it's regionals where there's 16 groups of 4, and if you win your regional, you move on to super regionals where it's supposed to be national seeds. So 116, 215, etc. 7 of 16 national seeds were knocked out. And I think that that's actually kind of incredible. And it makes amends for March Madness for March Madness in basketball because the March Madness tournament this year stunk in terms of upsets. But I know, Randy, you wanted to say something in regards to NCAA baseball and how that compares to March Madness. You talked to me about it. What were you going to say?
Well, no, I mean, truthfully, like I'm a homer. When if my teams are not in it, then I'm not overly interested. I mean, I'm sure the three of you could appreciate that as a host of a sports podcast that I have a certain appreciation of sports, but when it comes to NCAA, my interest isn't there because nobody from my country has a team in that said league. That being said, I mean, with basketball, especially 20, 30 years ago, you had these stars, these blue chip prospects that were in said school, for 4 years, and now it's one and done. And now, Maddie, as you're saying, I mean, I wonder. Maybe you guys could tell me if the product itself, basketball, is on the decline on the men's side. It seems that the women's game is on the rise and getting so much more attention. I guess with baseball as well is that there's such a huge disconnect as well. These guys don't go from NCAA to the pros right away. I mean, Bryce Harper aside, how many teenagers, Juan Soto aside, how many 20-year-olds and 19-year-olds are raking in Major League Baseball? And maybe as an outsider's perspective, maybe that's my my one thing about it. But yeah, I mean, before we got together, Maddie, you were asking about Little League World Series and NCAA, and I don't know if this is the appropriate time to talk about that. But as a kid growing up, I saw the TSN, the sports network here in Canada, had the qualifiers for the Canadian representative to the Little League World Series. This is like in the early to mid 90s. And it was really enjoyable to watch. I mean, these 12-year-old kids, just following and playing a game that they love. And, that those qualifiers are not shown on TV anymore. But I actually did drive to Williamsport. Actually, I drove to DC. We were driving through Pennsylvania, and I saw the stadium at Williamsport. And it was something. It was very there's a level of nostalgia that a guy like me can appreciate because I used to watch those tournaments all those years ago. And I mean, who knows? Maybe it was during a time when I was playing sports and baseball with my friends, and I was relatively the same age, 30 plus years ago. But I guess, and I do apologize for being so long-winded. But when it comes to the Little League World Series, NCAA, I have more of an appreciation, I suppose, for Little League World Series.
It's a fair point. I mean, one thing I like about the Little League World Series is that it's kids, like not college kids, like actual kids, 10 to 12-year-olds playing a sport that they love. And it's amazing because you don't know what the future is going to hold for these kids. Like they might grow out of baseball and actually go to college and be a science major. They might continue to play the sport. They might get into music or whatever the case may be. So that's why it's so fulfilling to see these kids live while they're young, if that makes any sense. I know the Panthers are 1-0 for those who are watching the Stanley Cup Finals. John put that little update in the chat. Florida trying to go back-to-back. Thank you, John, for that update. But back to the World Series NCAA thing. Kids, it's priceless to see them play and do the stuff they love. I mean, I was not born in 1998. I was born in 1997, the year before. But I have vivid memories of people telling me that when Tom Frazier was 12 years old, he won the Little League World Series for New Jersey, my home state. And he's a legend here in New Jersey because of that. And he also broadcasts Little League World Series games as well. But I want to get Lily and John's opinion as well. So I'm going to go to Lily. If you had to choose between NCAA baseball and Little League World Series, what would you prefer?
That's really tough. Man, honestly, because I will say it's a dream of mine definitely to go to Omaha and watch at least part of this part of the series for the college baseball World Series, just because I think it's something incredible. And I did want to quickly mention, we were talking about how many young guys come up from being teens, for one, Jackson Churio, but I did also want to talk about briefly Paul Skeens is a really interesting case because we saw him deal in the college baseball World Series for LSU.
Yes.
And he came up again fairly shortly after. And I would say in a baseball, in a way for baseball, very quick. And obviously he was good before that, but a lot of his hype was from his performances there and how well he pitched.
Yes.
So that was one quick note. But Little League World Series is something that's just, again, it's so exciting because I think too, to see kids win and lose on a really big stage, not like this, again, not saying I want to see children lose ever. It's the way that they, handle their excitement, but then also I think it's a really tough thing to learn how to lose anyway, when you're a kid and you're playing these games, but then on a grand stage, I think it's a really cool thing though to witness, to see just the emotions that they go through and how they're processing it and riding high on these waves and who they invest in. And I think I might go Little League World Series for that reason, because also it gives us gems like my name's Big Al and I hit dingers, and when else do you get things like that? And apparently he still plays baseball and he's still hitting dingers, and that's it.
He's I don't think he's big anymore though.
No, he's
like
actually skinny now. He's actually really skinny.
But
he's in
that
really good condition.
Big Al forever. He gets to take that with him. But I think there's something really cool about that though, and just every time you see big moments and walk-offs or comebacks or underdogs in the Little League World Series, I think it's just way more exciting. I think it's just really sweet. And my nephew's 9 and plays baseball, so I kind of love it for that reason too.
All right. Now that you mentioned Big Al, I got to get into a story. So I don't know if any of you are aware, Big Al lives here.
Oh!
He lives here. So when I worked at Outback Steakhouse several years ago, he came into Outback and I was starstruck. I was in my work attire. I go up to the guy. I'm like, hi, Mr. Al. I'm like, hey, how you doing, kid? How you doing, sir? I'm just trying to say what he relive the whole conversation. Because one of my coworkers at the time, he was close with Big Al's mother and father. So I go up to Big Al. I'm like, hi, how are you? I'm like, hey, how you doing, sir? Good to see you. I'm like, oh, first off, it's such an honor to see you. I know so much about you. Like, what major league team would you want to play for? Oh, I'd like to play for the Yankees one day. I'm like, great answer. But then
sorry, Matty. How old is Big Al to you? What's the age difference?
Oh, I was 21, I want to say, when I met him in 2019. So I think 12. He's probably 18, 19 now.
That's awesome.
So, but to go on with that, I had to go back to the host stand because I had to work. And then my coworker went up to Al's parents and said, hey, my coworker wants to take a picture with you. And then I see Al coming up to the host desk and he's like, hey, bud, you want to take a picture? I'm like, yeah, absolutely. So I have this massive grin on my face. I got to find the picture now. Now I got to find it. And immediately, I felt starstruck. I was like, best of luck to you, kid. I'm like, yeah, you too. And he leaves in this big batch of his family. I'm like, oh my God.
I mean, I can imagine that happens. I'm a little surprised because, Maddie, I'm assuming that you're in an urban area, but yeah, I mean, with small town communities, with the high school football team in rural Nebraska or Mississippi, what have you, those high school football players in basketball, they must be absolute legends. I mean, here you are, Matt, you're just absolutely in this daze with this teenager who played 6+ years ago. I mean, it's incredible. It's incredible.
The fact that I got to take a picture with Big Al in his prime is actually something that I could actually pat myself on the back for.
That is awesome.
Oh man, But John, I'm sorry I got a little taken aback by Big Al, but if you had to choose between Little League World Series or NCAA baseball, where would you go?
Well, you don't have to apologize. Randy and I are talking smack apparently in hockey in a chat, so we have that going on while you reminisce. So it's fine. It's a tough debate. I for the last couple of years have been getting more and more attracted to Little League World Series. I love that it happens basically when there's nothing else on TV. So the entire country is watching. And this to me, I think that's great. Even if it's just casually.
Yeah.
We're getting into the time of year where the playoffs for the NBA, the NHL are going to be over, and that's going to dump right into Little League World Series. So I think the Little League World Series is more exciting to me. My personal opinion. And seeing those kids, seeing their enthusiasm, seeing their energy, it's as unadulterated as sports gets. So I think Little League World Series is where I'd go.
I guess we have a clean sweep because I like Little League World Series ball. I love upsets and everything. I know the NCAA baseball tournament seeded and the Little League World Series. There's no seed. It's just home states or home country versus like opposing countries. Like it's U.S. versus international. That's how it works, which I think is actually beneficial to giving the Little League World Series a boost because you're not only seeing kids from America play this game, you're seeing kids from other countries play this game in Williamsport. Like you're seeing kids from Asia or the Dominican Republic or Canada or whatever country may be. Like there's 10 different countries that play outside of the United States.
The only detriment in Williamsburg is they don't have LSU buying thousands of Jello shots like they do.
But seriously though, I mean, for all these years, and I mean, you could even say it to this degree, but I mean, that's where the international competition ends. I mean, yeah, World Baseball Classic is there, but do they actually have a legitimate program? And they are going to the Olympics, yes. Major League Baseball, has that been confirmed?
Correct.
Yes, so which will be incredible. But are they going to be able to do that beyond? They're not. It's going to be in Brisbane, right? Those Olympics, not the LA Olympics.
Not the LA Olympics, yeah, 2013.
Yeah,
Olympics.
so in Brisbane. So, but I mean, they're able to do that because chances are the Brisbane Olympics are not going to be during the baseball season because their summer is when it is. But I mean, how are you going to have an Olympic tournament involving Major League Baseball players, during baseball season? But I really hope that, especially the United States, because there are so much talented players who don't participate, and who wasn't captivated by Japan, U.S., and when Ohtani struck out Mike Trout, and Adam Jones when he had that crazy catch against Machado in San Diego, And by the way, those USA jerseys are so badass. I mean, that should be, every American sports fan should be rocking that baseball jersey. And I don't think they do because World Baseball Classic is just not on the radar. Canada definitely needs to get their act together with their jerseys because they're awful. I digress. But no, I really do hope, in terms of an international competition there, that World Baseball Classic can get more traction.
Yeah. I honestly think that the last one has really built the hype up for it, and I do think that more than ever than before, people are excited. I've heard people talking about being excited for the next World Baseball Classic, and I don't think that's something I would have expected before. Before it just seemed like, it's a thing going on, whatever, it'll be fun to watch. And then by the end of it, people were just enamored, and I have a feeling it's going to be maybe not. I think it'll probably be just as popular, if not more, next time it rolls around. Honestly, so many people I knew that watched it that I would have never expected. Again, it was kind of in a weird sports time where it was something to throw on, but then turned into a whoa something really cool is happening here, even if it's not the big games of watching the US have big comebacks or play Japan. It was still like, we've got something here.
Yeah.
And Lily, I got to tell you, because when World Baseball Classic matches happened, I want to say it was 2007. It could have been the first one. I caught USA Venezuela here in Toronto, and it was when Vernon Wells was, I believe Vernon Wells was on the US team, and I mean it was, Toronto is so hit and miss when it comes to games that don't involve Canada, let alone Toronto. But there was one, oh yes, during that tournament, I think it was the first edition, Canada and US played, and apparently it was the wildest event. The intensity was so high. I believe a lot of Americans came up to watch the game. It just had that Canada USA incredible rivalry that always exists, and it's yeah. I mean, I think that. Yeah, hopefully. I mean, I think a lot of people do remember that Otani Trout at bat, and I think that no, I completely agree with what you're saying about the hype of World Baseball Classic.
Absolutely. All right, we do have an update alert. This involves the Stanley Cup Finals. The Edmonton Oilers are up 2-1 now over the Florida Panthers. Evan Bouchard scored a goal to make it 2-1. This was 9:19 into the first period here. Oh my God. Already a slugfest between these two teams already in game 2. Now I want to transition over to, we'll transition to the NBA next. I want to get to breaking news, actually, because this happened on, I think, Tuesday, and this actually came as a shock. The New York Knicks have fired head coach Tom Thibodeau after 5 seasons. Thibodeau took the Knicks to the playoffs 4 times in 5 years, had 4 playoff wins in 5 years. Guess how many playoff series the Knicks won in 2020? Guess how many playoff series they won? 2.
Oh, sorry.
The first
I thought it was 0.
The first 2 decades of the new millennium, they won just 2 playoff series. Tom Thibodeau won 4. And this has to be seen as a James Dolan decision, because you wouldn't fire a head coach after taking you to the Eastern Conference Finals for the first time in 25 years. It just doesn't happen like that. And when we get into NHL for a tiny bit, another coach got fired, even though he took his team to a conference final. But this is New York. New York is a big market. Knicks fans I've talked to, because I'm friends with a lot of Knicks fans, they're absolutely apoplectic about Tom Thibodeau getting fired. And the reason why is because if you've done something significant for the first time in a quarter century, you don't really punish a guy or vacate his job because of that. So now Knicks fans are trying to scramble for a new head coach. There's 3 candidates for that. There's Jay Wright, the former Villanova head coach and 2-time defending national champion, who also coached Jalen Brunson, Josh Hart, and Mikal Bridges. There's Mike Malone, former NBA champion for the Denver Nuggets, who helped Nikola Jokic become an NBA champion, and Johnny Bryant, who's the Cleveland Cavaliers associate head coach. So between those 3 candidates, those are the main 3 fighting for the job for the Knicks. But I want to get to Randy on this first. So what do you think made James Dolan fire Tom Thibodeau like this? And think about it. Leon Rose, I don't think, had a say in this decision.
Well, 2-2, by the way. I think that there is just such a short grace period for coaches at any sport in any league. I mean, take a look at the Vegas Golden Knights. I mean, this is an expansion franchise that started in 2017. They made the Cup final in their very first year. They
Correct.
made 2 more Cup finals, and they're on their 3rd coach already.
Yeah.
And I mean, we've seen this time and time again where if coaches don't get along with the star talent, or if they come up just a little bit short, they get axed. There is a huge, I guess, something about Tom Thibodeau, and that he doesn't use his bench. And did he have a bench to work with during this past season? I don't know if it's so much a Leon Rose and whether he had a choice in this matter. I think it all just falls on Jalen Brunson. I mean, is it? I mean, Is there any chance? I mean, obviously, Knick fans are just falling in love with Jalen Brunson,
Yes.
along with OG Anunoby. I don't know what your thoughts are on Karl Anthony Towns, but it seems that these days the star player gets some sort of say. I mean, uh, are we all confident that Nikola Jokic didn't have any sort of thoughts or comments when Mike Malone got fired? I mean, I don't know if it's a New York thing. I think that gone are the days where coaches get a long tenure with one team.
It's definitely a coaching carousel trend that we've seen over the last few decades. And I know Milwaukee, they fired Mike Budenholzer. They fired Adrian Griffin after not even a whole season. So we're seeing a trend like this in any league. And I hate the coaching carousel because you need to give coaches an opportunity, unless the coach is really bad. If the coach is really bad, then you fire him.
Well, off the top of my head, Maddie, I mean, I'm thinking of I just had his name, and the coach of the Cavaliers who went to the NBA Finals with LeBron, and then was, I think, 27-11 and got axed, and then Ty Lue came in. I could Google it. It's David Blatt. David Blatt.
There you go.
So and the only reason why he got axed, it had to have been LeBron, and. But we have seen Andrew Burnett. He didn't get an opportunity to get back to Florida with the Panthers when he won Coach of the Year, or was nominated for a finalist position.
Yeah,
it's a player-run league, and I don't know. I don't know where coaches have any sort of stability in any sport, really.
Yeah, I can agree with that. Now, I want to go to John on this one because we've talked about I mentioned the coaching carousel. Usually different markets handle a coaching carousel well. New York, and you fire a coach after 25, 26 years of not making a conference final. The Knicks did lose to the Pacers in the Eastern Conference Finals, and they didn't make the NBA Finals. And some say, oh, if the Knicks would have made it, they probably would have gotten smashed by the Thunder in the NBA Finals. I beg to differ, especially after last night. We'll get into that a little bit. But what do you think the Knicks do? Who do you think the main candidate is for head coach at this point in time? Oh, John, I think you muted for some reason. John,
you're muted.
John,
I wanted
muted.
to expand on what you said in your initial statement about the since he became a head coach, he's led several teams to the playoffs, 19 of 29 seasons.
Wow.
He was the coach of the year in 2011 and in 2021, and is known for rebuilding teams like the Bulls and the Knicks. So I don't think it was a really long-term, smart, intelligent decision to give him the axe, especially after getting all the way to. I mean, beating the Celtics is huge.
Yes.
Getting past the Celtics and getting to the Eastern Conference Finals is it hasn't happened in over 20 years.
25 years.
Yeah. So having said that, I would really, really, really like to see him in San Antonio. I think that would be a really good rebuild for him down there. And then for the Knicks, I think the best candidate for the Knicks, honestly, is probably Malone.
Yeah, I think Mike Malone's the best decision. Okay. All right.
May I?
Elephant in the room. Update alert. 3-2. Edmonton. We're not even through the first period. Leon Draisaitl on a power play goal at 3-2. Oh my goodness! What is going on here?
It's quite a series. It's quite a series.
Raining puck.
John. I'm wondering. You think you trust a guy like Tibbs with Victor? Because with me, I am really. I'm just tapping my foot, waiting for Victor to be shut down with a significant injury. I mean, players who are over 7 feet tall, they just don't have a long career in NBA. And I would think that if Tibbs could play Victor 49 minutes a game, I think he would.
Yeah, he probably would. But you guys do mention, yes, Tom Thibodeau has had problems over the course of his career utilizing his bench, and that was pretty evident in New York, especially game one of the Eastern Conference Finals, where the Knicks were up by 17 with 6.5 minutes to go, and then just completely crumbled because Brunson and Towns and all their starters were gassed, and then Tyrese Halliburton took advantage, and there we are. We're four. The Pacers won that first game, and they went on to win 4-2 in the series. I want to get to Lily really quick. I know you're not the biggest NBA person, but I do want to get to you. I mentioned the Bucks coaching shortcomings with Mike Budenholzer or Adrian Griffin, and now the current incarnation. Now, why do you think we see coaching carousels nowadays as opposed to back then when there was actual loyalty?
Well, so something I had been thinking about when you said that is I do think that the coaching carousel happens a little bit more frequently in the NBA and NHL. I think then I would say it happens probably most frequently in the NFL and then baseball. But again, it's happening more frequently. But I was just thinking about Bud Black, who only just got the axe after I don't even know how long. It feels like in baseball they kind of give you a little bit more time just to figure things out, just because of how long the seasons are. That very rarely somebody gets fired in the beginning of the season or mid-season unless they had a bad year the year before, and then they just kind of want to make an instant change. So it doesn't always happen the same way in baseball, which I think is pretty interesting. And then the NFL usually also see that at the end of the year, or as soon as playoffs start and there's those teams that aren't in it, you start seeing them kind of slowly drop off by one. But I do think it's this idea that we kind of want to see instant success from our teams. And even if it's a team that, might not be ready to be a contender yet, it's almost kind of showing like, hey, we hear you, we see you, we know you're upset, we know you want us to do better. So here's our move. This guy's out. And I think a lot of cases, it's not even always something that people want. I still think Bud Budenholzer I think him getting the axe wasn't the best call for the Bucks. I'm still perplexed by that whole decision. And Doc Rivers just seems like he really hasn't been the answer for them. And I kind of still stand by that, even though they've been fine. But they also had Giannis and Damian Lillard. So, you're going to find kind of some natural success anyway. But I think it is this pressure from front offices wanting to show that they care and that they want to do something and give something back to the fans and say like, hey, you know what? We're going to do everything. We're going to put we're going to get rid of this guy. We're going to start it over. Things are going to be better. And I think too, we see soft rebuilds now more than ever in almost every sport. There aren't really hard rebuilds in the same way. And if they are a hard rebuild or a hard reset, it's under the guise of we're figuring things out right now. But look, we're still winning some good games. There's some things happening here. So I feel like it's a lot of just needing results immediately. And that doesn't matter if you're a big market or a small market. There's this kind of I think that push and that desire is just way more prevalent nowadays.
Yeah, that's fair to say.
Can I throw a quick trivia question to you guys?
Go ahead. I love trivia.
How many MLB managers have been around since before 2020? I just Googled this right now.
Oh God!
Since before 2020, how many managers do you think have been around since?
That's still with their current team.
Yeah,
that's still with their current team. That's what I typed in. I really hope I'm correct on this.
All right,
is it one?
I'm gonna say four.
I got John.
2.
Well, actually, no, it is 7.
7.
Apparently. So
what?
Well, okay. So I really hope that I'm correct on this because I did a quick Google search. Okay, so I got Kevin Cash, Dave Roberts, Brian Snitker, Torey Lovello, Dave Martinez, Aaron Boone, Rocco Baldelli.
7.
So 7.
I did not realize how longly tenured some of those guys were. To be honest, I thought
That's
a lot of them were a lot newer than
incredible.
that.
Well, honestly, I'm a little surprised with that number of. 7. 2020 hasn't been that long. It's only been 5 years. So
yeah,
Well,
and only
it's optics. I think the Orioles are a perfect example. Firing their manager wasn't going to fix their pitching, but they did it anyway for optics.
Now, back to basketball for a second because I know we got lost in the shuffle, and that's fine. One
All
thing
right,
I
I'm
am
sorry,
gonna,
Maddie. I get
no,
excited.
it's perfectly okay. One thing I am going to say though is that one of the issues that the new head coach of the Knicks has to worry about is the coaching staff. One problem that people are having is if whoever comes in, is Jalen Brunson's father still going to be on staff? Because if Jalen Brunson's father is kicked off the staff, some will say Jalen Brunson might bounce as well. And if it's Jay Wright, I'll tell you right now, it wouldn't go well because you're looking at a guy who is a two-time collegiate national champion that never coached in the NBA. And he has familiarity with Brunson and Josh Hart and Mikal Bridges, but I don't care how many Nova Knicks are on the roster. You never coached in the NBA level before. You were enjoying retirement at CBS for a few years, and you want to rush out of retirement because the NBA is more money and you get to work with familiar faces. That doesn't work essentially, especially in New York. And they always say that if you can survive in New York, you can survive anything. In that kind of situation, to make a splash PR wise, it wouldn't work. So I think Mike Malone would be the best answer. And I think that the Knicks made a stupid move by getting rid of Thibodeau because now you got to scramble to keep your continuity, keep your identity, and keep the fans hopeful that you're going to go in the right direction.
Is it
Because
that
the Knicks,
inconceivable? I'm sorry. Is it that inconceivable that maybe New York had talked to Jay Wright already?
maybe.
And maybe, I mean, because of the influence of Villanova on that team, and you know, they did all right with Jay
They did
Wright
all
and
right,
Villanova.
yeah.
I mean, obviously, the history of college coaches in NBA. I mean, it's obvious, and there could be an adjustment period, but who knows? I mean, maybe Jay Wright could be the difference maker. That's what
I
I
mean,
immediately thought of, Maddie, when Tibbs got fired, and all the Villanova influence that's on the Knicks. You know,
yeah,
why not give a try with Jay Wright?
it's possible. It's absolutely possible. Now, I mentioned in the agenda that the NBA Finals are part of the agenda. I mentioned that the Indiana Pacers are taking on the Oklahoma City Thunder. Lily and Randy do not know this, but we are in the middle of a NBA NHL dual bracket challenge between John and Kevin, who are the final two. And the way this works is John had the Oklahoma City Thunder winning the whole NBA playoff tournament. And Kevin had, oh God, who do you have? He had someone from the Eastern Conference. I think he had like someone from like the Celtics. Yeah, he had the Celtics. So I made it fair. I was like, you know what? Since you guys can't earn any more points except for John will represent the Thunder and Kevin will represent whoever comes out of the Eastern Conference. And whoever wins the tournament and will win the challenge. Kevin has won his last two tournaments. He won the March Madness Bracket Challenge tournament and he won the Masters, which I was absolutely surprised about. And John's a little irked about it. And he knows it. But anyway, last night was game one of the NBA Finals. And can we say we had a stunner already in game one? Because the Thunder were up 15 points with 9 minutes to go. You figured this was over. But like they always do, the Indiana Pacers find some way to win. They push the tempo, they erase the deficit, and then Tyrese Halliburton, with ice in his veins, 0.3 seconds to go, nails a jumper, wins the game for the Pacers 111 to 110. Now, I don't know where Tyrese Halliburton is getting this from. He's been a machine all playoffs. And it's kind of incredible to see this young man who Knicks fans hate perform well on the big stage, especially in a ruckus Oklahoma City crowd. Randy, so game one, I don't think anyone saw that coming game one. But now the Thunder are probably going to win in game two in blowout fashion, you would think, because that's how the Thunder usually respond. Randy's giving me the look. What are you thinking?
Oklahoma City's going to probably win. I mean, look, I still think that Oklahoma City is a significant favorite for sure, but I don't think anybody expected them to sweep Indiana. Maybe there was a huge surprise that Indy took game one on
Yeah.
OKC's floor, But you were saying that we are seeing a huge emergence of Tyrese Halliburton, Pascal Siakam. It still breaks my heart to see him in those Indy colors. But the truth is that Indy is a strong team, and there isn't a lot of NBA playoff experience, finals experience. I believe Pascal is the one and only from both teams. So, I mean, sure. I mean, I just don't think probably going to win game 2. OKC. I don't think that is a definite, but I think they are favorite. Sure. I still think that I thought 6 games would be the max. But Indiana has had an incredible run this year.
They have. And I think that if you could perform well in Madison Square Garden, well, let's just say a lot of opposing players perform well in Madison Square Garden. That's just the reality Knicks fans have to suffer. Thank God I'm not a Knicks fan. I'm a Nets fan, and we suck too. But it's okay.
You're both a Nets and Knicks fan?
No, I'm a Nets fan. I've always been a Nets fan.
Oh, you're a Net. I thought you've always been a Knicks fan. Oh, okay.
No, my friends are Knicks fans, and so is Kevin. Kevin's a Knicks fan.
Oh, okay.
But I support the Knicks. I know I'm not a fan of them, but I support them.
Really, you do that, eh? Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, in terms of Yankees and Mets, you're all pinstripes.
I'm all pinstripes.
Yeah.
I bleed pinstripes, and I bleed black and white because the Brooklyn Nets are black and white.
Right on. I find it interesting very quickly. Washington and Washington State or something, Lily. If there's 2 schools in Milwaukee, I'm assuming that you cheer for one over the other. Like if Toronto got a second hockey team, I would hate them more than the Montreal Canadiens. But, I find it interesting that you do have a space for the other team for the on basketball.
If you
I do. People say I'm crazy for that, but it's fine. I roll with it. No, because you got to remember the Nets were once in New Jersey. That's why I rooted for them.
Right, you're a New Jersey man, right?
I'm a Jersey boy.
Not
the musical Jersey Boys, but yes. Then Jay-Z bought the team when they moved to Brooklyn, and history is history. But anyway, I want to get into John's opinion. So Pacers steal game 1. Shocker. Now, when it comes to game 2, the Thunder have bounced back very well after losing a game 1 in the NBA playoffs this year. In fact, before game 1, they were winning games by an average of 25.5 points in the playoffs. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Chet, and company, can they respond back in game 2? And if so, they got to keep Tyrese Halliburton contained, correct?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, SGA is he's the MVP. I was not shocked, by the way, that the Pacers won. We saw it against the Knicks. Rick Carlisle probably knows better than anybody coaching how important game 1 is. So I expected it to be tight. In fact, I was really considering putting some money on the Pacers for game 1. But it was a lot tighter than I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
It's just interesting to see the Pacers come back from 15 against the Thunder and 20 against the Knicks. So they have a lot of spunk. I've been calling SGA all this whole entire year. I predicted the Thunder to win it all, and I still think they will. I think they're going to bounce back in a good way. I think they spent a good amount of time filling the Pacers out. They know what they're up against. I still think it's done in 5.
I can agree with that. Listen, I have the Thunder winning this series in 5 games. I really do. But the way the Indiana Pacers made a statement in game 1, it wouldn't be surprised if this goes 6, maybe 7 games. And the Pacers are playing with house money. I think that's dangerous, actually. If you're playing with house money and you're the team that's not expected to win it all, and you're a team that is quote unquote happy to be there, that actually makes you more dangerous because then people are overlooking you. And I think we've seen that before in the NBA, in the other sports, but particularly this, the Pacers play bop, 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 bop. They play really, really quick. And I think that's the one thing that the Thunder have probably studied already, that they play fast pace. And you mentioned before, Rick Carlisle has done a magnificent job this entire playoffs getting this team prepared. Now, if we were to go realistic here, because I don't know when the next show would be, if the NBA Finals would be over. But Randy, you said the Thunder would win the series, correct?
Yeah, I think Thunder will.
How many games?
Well, yeah, I was going to say 6. I think that it would be a disservice to Indiana by saying like a sweep or something like that. And I don't think it would be overly shocking if they did take 1 or 2. You could only imagine what the field house is going to be like for games 3 and 4. And if they do get to game 6. So I think that Indiana definitely have pieces to win a few games. And it would be a crazy upset if they do win, but it definitely will be deserved. They have the pedigree to be in that the finals. So, but really, it's just OKC. This has the makings of a real dynasty. Maybe I'm getting ahead of ourselves, but with how young that team is, the youngest team in the league, and the affection that they have for each other. Do they have the wherewithal to maybe ride this thing out, not continuously take super maxes? And they could really they could really do something special in OKC.
John, how many games does the NBA Finals last? You have the Thunder, right?
Yeah, I think this goes 7 now after seeing what the Pacers did last night. This year has been the tale of two different teams in Indiana. Before 2025, they went 2-3 in October, 7-8 in November, and 7-7 in December. But they've been a completely different different team this year, and they've really, really been strong. I was surprised that they even beat the Cavs. I don't think anybody expected them to get behind and pass Cleveland. So
Yeah.
to see them here is a feat in and of itself. But I think it goes 7, and I think the Thunder win.
All right. Lily, do you have a prediction? Who wins and how many?
I'll go Pacers in 7. I haven't watched every single game. I'm not a really big NBA fan. I will say every single playoff game I caught this year was incredible, and I thought was really entertaining to some extent, like no matter what was happening. But I caught the huge blowout win from Thunder where they just, or wait, it was that way. Sorry, now I'm like now I'm trying to figure out everything I've been watching. But with the Pacers, every game I caught from the Pacers, even if they lost, I thought they just looked good. I thought they just looked like a good team that seemed to just want to figure it out and want to win. I'm not going to say it reminds me exactly of like, I did watch a lot of the finals and entire NBA playoffs when the Bucks won, because I'm not a huge fan, but it's Wisconsin. I got to go for it. Got to watch anyway. And I'm not going to say it's the same vibes, but there's like this just little pieces of it that I'm just like, they look really good, and I like the upset of it. I'll go opposite of what everybody else is saying. Let me go Pacers in 7 for it. I will say something I think that's really fun about this, and I think something that's been a big topic of conversation is talking about viewership for this. And
yes,
I think the disappointment from some people that it's 2 small market teams. Being a fan of small market teams myself, I think it's really exciting, and for me, it doesn't make me not want to tune in and watch it. It's more about just not caring for the NBA anyway. But I personally am a lot more interested in a matchup like this because I don't really know much about either team. But then all of a sudden I'm like, oh, Pascal Siakam. I know who that is from college basketball. I watched him play. SGA, very familiar with in a similar way. I'm trying to think, like Chet Holmgren, another one of those too, where I'm like, I know a lot of these guys already and I know them from something, and I'm interested in that. I'm intrigued by that. And it's cool to see with both these teams how young they are. And again, the possibility, or I mean, more so Thunder, but how much of a possibility they have to continue to do well, that this doesn't seem just like maybe Pacers a little bit more random, but it's interesting to see different teams in here other than, what everybody wants to see, LeBron, Steph, etc. Even to some extent too, I'm sure like Giannis. But it's awesome to see new faces and to go, oh, these guys are really good. And I wouldn't have expected it, even with SGA being MVP. It's like I still wasn't on my radar on that way. And I always think that's such a bummer because it's like we need to be excited about these players and see what they're doing and see what these teams are up to. So in that way, I think this is really great. I think it's good for basketball to get some different faces in there and get your eyes on some new, fresh teams. So that's kind of my 2 cents on it.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah.
And to your point, Lily, when Charles Barkley called out Kendrick Perkins saying that the Lakers saved the NBA season when OKC was ripping it with Cleveland and so on. I mean, the media, they just gravitate towards the LeBrons and the Stephs, the KDs, and those guys. LeBron's already over 40, and it's the twilight of KD and Steph's careers. And I mean, they do have to promote Anthony Edwards. They do have to promote the Shays and all these cats that are in small market towns. And I think, hey, as someone, from a small market like with Milwaukee and the Brewers, I mean, Prince Fielder, his greatest days was with Milwaukee. And, you think about Ryan Braun, I guess he spent his entire career there, give or take. Yeah. So, I think Reggie Miller, look how much of a legend he was in Indiana. And I mean, it doesn't matter. I really hope that these athletes really get it through their heads that you don't have to be in New York to be the person.
And obviously not NBA, but like I'm from Green Bay. Big thing too with the Packers is they are technically a quote unquote it's a small market town. But what's so crazy about football? Well, yeah, because it's just small. But with football, it's so different because it doesn't really count. It's not really a small market team. They still have money to play with. They have, obviously salary caps and things are different. But even growing an environment like that, people, if they want to play in Green Bay, it's not because they want to be in Green Bay. They want to play for the Packers and the franchise. And that's what it more is about. But everybody talks about who would want to play in a place like that just because of the city itself.
Right.
And that's, I grew up experiencing that, and I don't care because I love Green Bay. I think it's the best place. But again, not a true small market, but it's still, again, in scope of 100,000 people, 250,000 metropolitan area. It's a small market, a small area. And, that's something I fight with a lot of Wisconsin sports. But it's just good to get those teams on the map and, get people to care about them and see what they're doing. Again, Packers is different. That's not a good comparison. Just wanted to bring up my hometown a little bit.
But how much different is Buffalo and the Bills?
Exactly.
I mean, like I've been to Buffalo a bunch of times. Like it's 60 miles from where I live, and Josh Allen is pretty popular, and Thurman Thomas was pretty popular, and Stephon Diggs when he was here. Buffalo. Hey. Well, Stephon Diggs, but my point is that like there is something different with the NFL that there is a romance of playing, especially with a team like Green Bay. And I am a little intrigued about college as well. You think, especially in a basketball perspective, I guess. Well, hey, even football. I mean, Alabama. And I don't know, LSU, College Station. I don't know how big of a town College Station is with Texas Tech, but these kids go to these schools and so on, and it's not in the big city. I mean, is it really that about dollars? This is a question an answer I don't know. Okay. But are the urban universities, the UCLAs, I'm guessing, is it an urban area? Like, do they not have the money to attract these kids? Because from where I see it, they go in the middle of nowhere for those 1 or 2 years of college, and it must be the best years of their sporting life.
John, I think you were shaking your head about UCLA. You want to answer that one?
Well, UCLA is in the heart of Los Angeles. But you compare that to Lubbock, which is a small town in Texas, College Station. Shout out to Green Bay. I was just there in April for the draft. What you have when you don't have money is a totally different vibe in these small markets. And that was something I really experienced standing in the middle of 200,000 people on night one of the NFL draft. Um, you know, these small towns are not necessarily, the people of Green Bay aren't necessarily fans of the NFL, but they're fans of their team. And
Yes.
that supersedes anything that you're ever going to get in a large market. That loyalty doesn't exist in large markets like it does in a small town. And so that's a completely different vibe. And that's why you have these players that come back after they retire, and they're big in boosting and promoting, and the loyalty between players and fans in a small market is completely different than in LA or New York City. And I think that's you can't put a dollar amount on that. I don't think you can actually explain and put into words how deep that resonates in a community. But it exists, and it's a lot stronger than most people give it credit for.
Now, I like all the points that you guys have made. However, there's one example of a small market battle that did not work out well, and that would be the 2023 World Series between the Texas Rangers and the Arizona Diamondbacks. Remember, we were all hyped up and excited about it because, it's a 6 seed versus a 4 seed, and the Rangers had Adolis Garcia, and then we were introduced to Corbin Carroll in Arizona, and all these other young guys that were coming out of Diamondbacks, and we were excited about it, like two bells of the ball trying to fight for a title, pretty much. And the ratings were bad. So but I do like the point you guys made where it's like, okay, if we have a small market of 500,000 people promoting and watching, that's better than a big city like New York or Los Angeles with 5 million people and only like 10,000 tune in, if that makes any sense, if you're picking up what I'm putting down.
Well, but Phoenix and Dallas Fort Worth, I mean, those are two of the top 10 cities in the US, right? I mean, I think the thing with baseball is that it's just too regional. Like maybe the Yankees and the Dodgers are one thing, but maybe the ratings drop if you didn't have Ohtani and Judge. I mean, is it so much really the teams itself or those two players? I mean, Ohtani alone is worth the price of admission.
True.
And the Cubs, they went all those years, 108 years. They won the World Series. Let's say that they did make the World Series again. Are we going to see the ratings bonanza that I assume that took place in 2016? I'm guessing not. So, I mean, what kind of team is out there beyond the Yankees and I guess the Red Sox to a degree, but the Dodgers in baseball that have that national appeal? I don't think that there is a lot.
Well, the ratings did trample last year's World Series. Well, last year's World Series trampled the previous year's World Series because
Sure,
the star power was phenomenal.
Yeah. No, but I mean, okay. So the year before, Texas, Arizona. Year before that, Houston and
Philly.
Help me out here. Houston and Philly. Okay.
Yes.
So, I mean, I wouldn't be surprised if the ratings weren't too great beyond for that series as well. Maybe there was a little bit more because it was Houston and they had the 2017 the previous World Series,
the trash can stuff.
Yeah. So but let's take it a look at different, if I may, Maddie, with regards to basketball. Like, I mean, there are a lot more national exposure and appreciation with the Lakers, with the Bulls, and maybe and I mean, like these days with the Warriors. I mean, hell, I can remember all those years ago before Steph Curry, where Golden State was just a random team, and now you see everywhere any road game that the Warriors are playing, and people are rocking Warriors gear. Same thing with the San Antonio Spurs, one of the smallest markets in the NBA. So, I mean, I think it's different per sport, but. Yeah, no, I don't even know.
It's not like the Super Bowl where the Super Bowl just gets watched no matter what.
And,
That's also one singular game. It's not a full series where you have to, tune in night after night.
Right.
But like where the Super Bowl, like obviously certain teams are gonna get more people caring about it and watching it. But at the same time, people are going to watch it no matter what. It's like
Exactly.
people don't just, tune into the World Series just because usually. Again, I think Judge and Ohtani playing with Yankees Dodgers, I think that's that was the occasion that if people are going to just tune in, they're going to just tune in, because that's kind of like, it's hard to not want to see two guys that you've heard about, that these are the two best players. But I think it's a very, interesting thing. And again, I think the series format is a lot more fun. I think it's more entertaining, but it's not the made for TV special that a Super Bowl night's going to get you in the same way. So,
of course, yeah.
I think that's always that's where sometimes I'm like, I'm past ratings. I don't care. I want to just watch some good teams play whatever their sport is and just enjoy what it is. And every year it's going to be different. There's going to be something to get out of it. And of course, I'm not thinking about the, money aspects in terms of what that means for advertisers and teams, but like, get me something good to watch. I'm here for that, and whoever got there, got there. Let's see what it is.
Exactly.
I listen to a nationally syndicated radio show every day at work, and until today, it was only people that lived in Indiana that were calling in and saying that the Pacers were going to win this series. That changed today.
Oh my God! You gotta love the tiny but mighty markets. You gotta love them. All right, so I want to get into the NHL very briefly because we did have one news story that popped up today, and I bet you Randy was all over this. Pete DeBoer was fired from the Dallas Stars today. One of the best Game 7 coaches in NHL history. And now the Dallas Stars were just coming off a season where they were in the Western Conference Finals. But I think what stirred the pot a little bit in Dallas had to have been pulling Jake Ottinger out of Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals, which didn't sit right with a lot of Dallas Stars fans and probably ownership. Randy, if you had to give your little thoughts on Pete DeBoer getting pulled and axed, what do you think?
Well, I don't know. Sorry, I'm having a little Wi-Fi issue here. I don't know if it was so much an issue with ownership, but I think they saw the writing on the wall and they knew that Jake Ottinger, their goalie, was not too happy about it. And yeah, it was a tough call. Maybe it wasn't the right call. And I think that if DeBoer handled himself a little differently and not really call him out, maybe he'd still have his job. I think it was a knee-jerk reaction. I think DeBoer is very remorseful for it, obviously, because he's now out of a job. But I mean, it's not overly surprising. I mean, the focus for next season, if DeBoer was still there, is the whole damage control in the relationship. Oh, how's everything going with you and Jake Ottinger? So, like we were saying before, coaches walk a fine line, and once one false step, and they're toast.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, now before we transition to NFL, I want to give you an update alert. Still 3-2 Oilers entering the second period, but now we're going to get into the NFL because there have been a couple storylines, and we're going to start off with the big news of the day. This happened on Tuesday. John knows where this is going. Aaron Rodgers signed a 1-year contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers. This came as not so much of a surprise because the Pittsburgh Steelers were probably targeting Aaron Rodgers for a long time, but Rodgers was probably delaying the inevitable, taking the Pittsburgh Steelers hostage and basically just baiting them into sign him. We didn't know how that was going to go. It was either Steelers or retirement. Steelers said, you know what? Come over here. We'll bring you in. Because the Pittsburgh Steelers didn't have a lot of options at quarterback. They drafted Will Howard in the 5th round. And they had Mason Rudolph, who Myles Garrett loves so much. Sarcasm. But John, you mentioned before, I wish we had the recording of you saying Aaron Rodgers was going to the Steelers, but you called it. You were right on the money about all of that stuff in Pittsburgh. Now that it's real, what do you think is going to happen in Pittsburgh? Is Aaron Rodgers going to take it seriously in Pittsburgh? Is he going to pull some strings with people? Is he going to poke the bear? What's he going to do?
Well, the timing of this is very significant. I know Rodgers hates OTAs, and that's one of the reasons he prolonged this manifest destiny. He came in today to actually sign the papers. He's gonna take his playbook home. And he's going to be ready to throw tutties to DK Metcalf next week. And the Steelers have a whole new look. I think the tragedy that hasn't happened yet is the contract for TJ Watt, which we'll talk about here in a little bit. But if you look at the stats for Aaron Rodgers last year, he wasn't that far away from Josh Allen MVP.
No?
So coming into the Steelers, I think he takes a little bit of a downgrade in who he's passing to. It kind of slumps off after wide receiver 2. But I think the Steelers are probably going to have another 9-10 win season the way that they have for the last 7 or 8 years. So, what happens next year and what becomes of the Steeler dynasty with Will Howard or whoever is quarterback is going to be completely different than this year. But now that the drama is over, Aaron Rodgers has come home to roost, and I think people are going to be paying attention to the Steelers a lot more than they would have if Aaron Rodgers wasn't there. I hope that in game 1, the revenge game against the Jets in week 1, that they actually put him on a cart and don't have him run out onto the field. I don't want to see him get hurt in week 1, especially against the Jets.
Oh my God! Can you imagine? Especially it'd be like a reminiscent of 2023 with the turf. The turf monster got him. But Lily, so Aaron Rodgers has been this guy where you don't know what he's thinking. He kind of played the Packers along for a little bit. Then he wanted to go to the Jets, and the Jets basically said, "Come on aboard." And then that didn't last long. It only lasted 2 years. One, if you really count week 1 and what happened in 2023. Now he's in Pittsburgh. 28 touchdown passes last year. The Steelers, on paper, don't look enticing of a team that could be a contender. Do you expect much from Aaron Rodgers this season, being whatever, 39, 40 years old at this point in his career?
He's 41 at the
41?
moment. I do not expect much of him. And again, it's not to say that he's not talented, and he has a lot of history and a lot of seasons to show what he is and what he can be and just how amazing he is. But I think I'm very much in the camp, and I think a lot of Packers fans feel a similar way, where it just does not seem like this has been really worthwhile for him. And obviously last year helps that he actually had more of a season, and it was just a whole thing where I don't want to say sacrificed a lot of his legacy, but I think he's kind of now always going to have a rift with the Packers in the way that his connection to the fan base and to the city. And I'm sure 20, 30 years from now, Allison, there will be a really nice heartfelt reunion, and things will be better and nobody will care about what went down. But it feels like, to me, more than anything, he would have taken wherever he could have gone. It's just that he wants another chance, and it seems like he doesn't seem like he's fulfilled. And I don't know what it's going to take from him to get there. I don't know if it takes another ring for him to, feel kind of at peace. But just with every era or installment in this Aaron Rodgers sort of post-Packers, even again, in probably his last 2 with, signing contracts and whatever happened with that, it's just been something where I can't find myself caring enough about it. But that's just always how I'm going to be about it. I'm not bitter towards him. It's just more of a, has it been worth it for you? Did you get what you wanted? And you clearly haven't gotten that yet. The biggest disappointment with this is he did not fulfill the legacy. And we did see that when he didn't sign with the Vikings, and the Vikings had no interest. And I always will find that a little upsetting that we didn't see a true Brett Favre, path. But I think that's probably for the best, that it seems like maybe he broke the chain with this signing. So
maybe Jordan Love will be a Jet in 2037.
Well, maybe now he has to go do something else now, I think. Who knows where that brings him? Maybe it's the Cowboys or something, and it's a fully different thing, but we'll see.
We'll see what happens. We got a long time. Jordan Love's probably going to live out the rest of his career as a Packer. We'll probably see what happens in the rest of his. But we do have a couple stories. So Frank Ragnow and David Andrews, who were a Lion and Patriot respectively, have retired from the NFL. Also, other storylines: Eagles trade away Bryce Huff to San Francisco after being on the Eagles for a short period of time. Sam Darnold. This is where I want to come to John here for these next couple stories. Sam Darnold did not look good in 7-on-7 drills, and there's immediate concern in Seattle as to whether or not their acquisition at QB is already paying off. So my question to you, John, is it Jalen Milroe time? Yes or no?
Absolutely not.
Okay.
My absolute favorite grade on Jalen Milroe during the draft. One analyst said that he was a really good runner. His accuracy isn't there. I think they took him knowing that they were going to give Howe to the Vikings and that they were going to use Milroe as a backup. I don't see any issues with Darnold at this point. What I do see is behind the scenes, you have him adapting from how Minnesota played with one of the best receivers in the league in Jet to adapting to an offense where there isn't actually a clear wide receiver one on the Seahawks at this point.
Right.
I think we have, between the 7 wide receivers and the 20 tight ends that we probably have 10 slot receivers at this point, and no clear X receiver on the outside. So I read an article today talking about how he's actually just developing chemistry and reading body language and trying to figure out his receivers, because the Seahawks team and the way that Kubiak is going to run the offense is completely different than a system he's been in. So that's all I see.
Okay, fair enough. I mean, now if you remember in 2012, Matt Flynn was supposed to be the starter in Seattle, and then Russell Wilson was drafted in the 3rd round. Matt Flynn stunk in preseason. Russell Wilson was endeared by fans in preseason, his attitude and everything. And then what happens? Matt Flynn gets cut. Russell Wilson's the starter. So you never know how that's going to pan out. But I just figured it'd be a nice little trend from 13 years ago, continue today. But John doesn't see it happening.
Jaden Milroe is not Russell Wilson. I'll just tell you that right now.
Ooh, okay. Now the next story we have is T.J. Watt is expected to sign he's in extension talks with the Pittsburgh Steelers before the season even goes on. John, how do you see T.J. Watt's contract extension play out? How are those talks going to go?
Well, I think it's taken this long because the Steelers front office was focused on Ron, and I've mentioned that before. I think they needed to figure out what wiggle room they had before they signed a contract with TJ. I think the other factor that you have to think about is Trey Hendrickson hasn't been signed yet. And so there's a lot of dollar value that goes back and forth. If TJ Watt gets signed and then Hendrickson after, the last one is going to be the highest paid guy on the outside. So, at this point, I don't think TJ Watt has suffered in waiting, because if Hendrickson gets signed, then he can go ask for an extra pile, so to speak, based on that newest contract. But the Steelers want to lock him in. I think they want to give him a long-term contract. He's been outstanding.
Yes.
He kind of slacked off with injuries the last season or two, but I don't see him going into next year without a contract. I think they button it up before spring training's over.
The Trey Hendrickson ideology that he painted me is fascinating, because that's one of the more underrated pass rushers that people don't talk about. And he was the heart and soul of that Bengals defense, a defense that was absolutely putrid for the Bengals last year. So imagine adding him to that defensive front with TJ Watt and company. That'd be really interesting to see. But I think that you want to lock up your franchise guy. You want to lock up your best playmaker on both sides of the ball, because across that entire Pittsburgh Steelers roster, TJ Watt's their best player. Case closed. And like I said, I think you want to lock him up. Now, we have 20 minutes left, and I think this is a perfect time to get into my new favorite segment of the show, Fresh, Fine, or Fried. Now, for those of you who don't know how Fresh, Fine, or Fried works, one of us is going to be doing a 2.5-minute take on whatever comes to mind. It could be anything. It doesn't have to be sports related. It could be anything. And at the end of your 2.5-minute take, all of us are going to evaluate your take, whether it being fresh, meaning good, fine, meaning okay or fair, and fried, meaning bad. Now, like I said, John criticized me for saying Major League Baseball should get rid of intentional walks. But that's okay. And who's on the hot seat today? It's our own Lily Schumacher. So, Lily, you have 2.5 minutes. Whatever takes on your mind. Ready?
Yes.
Go.
So my take for this, and it is sports related, is that having a championship or a ring should not be a defining factor for you getting into the Hall of Fame in whatever sport you were in. My biggest reasoning for this is that, of course, you can look at individual performances and people taking you there. But in that regard, I would care much more about, being like a finals MVP or a NLCS MVP or World Series MVP versus the fact that you actually have a ring making you that person. Same thing goes for maybe within the NFL. I honestly care a lot more about you being a regular season MVP than you having a good performance in the postseason or playoffs. Of course, that's actually what gets you there and what helps you win, and it cements a legacy in so many people's minds. My thing with that is, again, it is a team effort. This is something that everybody and all cylinders have to be firing to get you there. You have to have so much going in your favor, whether that's momentum, in some cases luck, that's if you're, let's say, the quarterback, you also have to have a good defense, you have to have a good offensive line, you have to have good tools and weapons between your wide receivers, running backs, etc., tight ends. So many things have to be going right for you. And I think on any team within all of sports, there's probably a couple guys who have been a part of said team that I don't want to say don't deserve it because you're included in that team for a reason, but maybe are not the one who, you know what I mean. Your legacy isn't getting cemented because you won a World Series ring. You just have one, or you just have a Super Bowl ring. Just because you did that doesn't mean you're the best player of all time. I am so beyond that needing to be part of what gives you a strong legacy in the Hall of Fame. I've seen people say that for Aaron Rodgers just because he only won one Super Bowl, that's doesn't give him enough credence to be in the Hall of Fame, which I think is ridiculous. I think he's proven himself well beyond that, regardless of what's going on now in the stuff I was talking about with him earlier. It should not matter so much, and I don't know maybe if that's something that fans care more about than voters, but I am so over that as a huge talking point in terms of what makes you a Hall of Fame player. Again, Mike Trout might never win a ring. He deserves to be in the Hall of Fame no matter what. I stand by that. It's his team. It's not anything else. Okay. I'm going to end it there. I'll take my time.
Well, you actually went right on the buzzer. Well done with your efficiency with the time.
Thank you.
Okay. Now, we're going to start off with Randy since he's the other guest in this equation. So, Randy, what do you think? Fresh, fine, or fried?
If you're looking at a Hall of Fame perspective, I definitely think that is fresh. There are only so many people who can not only win a championship, but get into their respective Hall of Fame. Now, I will say that being a superstar is indicative on being a regular season MVP and a champion, because especially in a perspective like basketball, there's only a couple of superstars in the NBA, and Jason Tatum is still on the fence for me. So, Lily, well done. I definitely agree with you. That take was certainly fresh.
Okay, John, you're next. Fresh, fine, or fried?
I believe that take was very fresh. I think a perfect example is Kenny Pickett, and I've argued all year long that Kenny Pickett is not great. He still has tiny hands. And the argument is that, well, he won a Super Bowl ring just a couple months ago with the Philadelphia Eagles. He had one or two pass plays, so he earned it. And then you contrast that. We went over the votes for the MLB Hall of Fame this year with a magnifying glass. And we're very critical about how many first ballots Ichiro got, and so I think that magnifying glass is still there. I think the ring contributes a lot to whether a person gets in or not. But I would hope that most of the players in a Hall of Fame are there based on merit.
All right, so 2 freshes. I'm going to
What-
complete the sweep. Here. I can see why you're a line 'em up champion. Fresh is the. I'm going fresh as well because we've seen amazing athletes in any sport be the best of the best in the regular season, and they've been exciting. They've been dynamic. They've been must-watch TV. Like for example, in football, there's Barry Sanders. Doesn't have a title, but he's in the Hall of Fame because he's just unbelievable. Aaron Judge. I hope to God he wins the title, but even if he doesn't win the title, he's still going to be considered one of the best home run hitters in baseball and one of the most exciting players to watch. And then basketball, Allen Iverson, same thing with him. And then, Connor McDavid, unless he wins right now, he's still one of the most underrated players in hockey today that people really need to credit as someone that, is exciting, that's must-watch TV, that's entertaining, that is considered one of the best at his position, in his craft. And I think for that reason, I got to go with Fresh.
Maybe this is something that I didn't think is as controversial, but I feel like it also might come down to the people, like-minded in some ways. But I feel like I see that with fans a lot that just think you need a ring to be in. And I will always stand by that's ridiculous. So thank you, guys.
In terms of, but Lily, I think football might be a little different, but see, for me with basketball especially, like with Tyrese Halliburton, I may have a little difficulty of calling him a superstar if the Indiana Pacers win because he's not a regular season MVP. I mean, Hall of Fame, forget about Hall of Fame. I can't call Tyrese Halliburton a superstar. He didn't win playoff MVP. I mean, maybe he might win Finals MVP. I can't call Tyrese Halliburton a superstar if Indiana wins. Jason Tatum, Luka Doncic, I don't think is a superstar.
See, I think superstar sometimes is not defined by just like one. I think a superstar is like multiple seasons of proving that this guy, gets the numbers, and so I can agree with you on that. That like there's maybe a standout, but not yet established superstar. Superstar in the making, perhaps, depending on what happens beyond that, is maybe more where I'd go with that. Even that might be a little too far, but it's like a stand-up to a superstar in the making to like a superstar, perhaps. But I think that takes time.
Yeah. No matter what happens, that was like very well put. Now I know Randy wanted to do a fresh find or fry. We do have 13 minutes, so we could get Randy one chance here. All right, Randy, 2.5 minutes. Are you ready?
Very quickly, do I get to rebut if you guys may not think I'm as fresh as Lily?
No rebuttals. No rebuttals.
No rebuttals. Okay, so you guys, because I have a feeling that you guys might have different takes.
No rebuttals.
But I am ready.
2 minutes. Ready? Go.
So yours truly a couple weeks ago went to the Apple store to get my MacBook fixed. And the young man that was serving me, I was rocking my Toronto Maple Leafs jersey. And he's like, "Oh, you're a Leafs fan?" And of course, I was in the Greater Toronto area at said Apple store. And I said, "Yeah, who's your team?" And he said, lo and behold, the Florida Panthers. And the way that I see it is that, you know what? It is really, really easy to cheer for a good team. I can't figure out why anybody can cheer for a team that is not in your city or state or province. Maybe there might be something about how mom or dad introduced you to said sport, and that parent or special person in your life was a real fan of a team that's outside of your city limits. But don't tell me that you are a fan of the Kansas City Chiefs when you live in Arizona. Don't tell me that you're a fan of the Boston Celtics when you live in North Dakota. I mean, give me a break. Look, it's been 58, will be 59 years when God's team, the Toronto Maple Leafs, won a Stanley Cup. My father emigrated to Canada from Sri Lanka in 1969. Both of us have seen the same number of Stanley Cup final appearances for the Toronto Maple Leafs. 0. The point is that it will be an amazing experience when or if the Maple Leafs make the Stanley Cup finals, let alone the conference finals. But take a look at for the first time ever, a Toronto team won a 16-team playoff with the Toronto Raptors winning the 2019 NBA playoffs. And man, that was a long stretch. 2
30
months
seconds.
of playoff basketball. It was just such a challenge, and it was such a long, drawn out period. But with all those years of futility from the Raptors, from the Blue Jays, from Toronto FC, and especially the Maple Leafs, stick with your team, and don't be jumping ship. I'm tired of you. The end.
I love that diss. I love it, and it was literally almost on point. So, all right, we're gonna go to Lily first. Was that fresh, fine, or fried?
Oh, I think you're fresh, man, with that. I think you save yourself there by saying, people might be transplants, and then also sometimes like the parent angle, because I know a lot of Packer fans in Chicago that are Packers fans because of their parents, and that just transfers. My only thing with it, that it'll still stay fresh for me, is being in states where you don't have a team. I don't think just because you don't have a team there, or like again, province. I'm sure there's probably some provinces in Canada that don't have any teams, but it's like if you don't have a team in your state or province or territory, I think you deserve to. You can pick. I really think so, because it shouldn't just be like because you're close, like just deal with it and take that team. I think you can have some free will there, but like for the most part, 1000% agree. If you're in a city like that, come on.
I agree. All right, John, fresh, fine, or fried?
I think it's fresh. I think there's a line that you can delineate between somebody in Arizona that's a Chiefs fan because they're on the bandwagon, and somebody in Canada living in Montreal that is cheering for the Oilers right now. I think that needs to be defined as a difference. But I have a hard time with bandwagon fans. I dealt with bandwagon fans with the Seahawks. We slacked off and have lost a couple seasons, and so there are fewer bandwagon fans. So it's kind of nice to like be a hardcore Seahawks fan again. But I think he's got a point. I think Randy's definitely got a fresh take on how to be a fan, and I think we're still trying to figure that out in a post-COVID world.
Okay, I think he's fresh too.
Aww.
I can't tell you how many times I've come up to my friend who's like a Dodgers fan and a Lakers fan, but then he roots for the University of Alabama, where he didn't go to school, and he roots for the Patriots because he loved Tom Brady, and he roots for the Duke Blue Devils and men's basketball, and he roots for the UConn women's basketball. Like, where are you, man? Well, please, where's your identity? You're from California, but you root for like teams across the geographic part of the United States. Like, if you're gonna root for one team, be from your home state of Providence. Like, listen, I mentioned before, I root for the Brooklyn Nets because they lived in New Jersey. They were once in New Jersey.
Sure.
The Giants are in New Jersey. The Rangers are in New York, but still, I don't root for the Devils. I chose not to. But it's still within the region. If you're from the state of North Dakota and you choose to root for the Yankees, okay, more power to you, because North Dakota and South Dakota, they don't have much going on. But if you're from Los Angeles and you root for the Duke Blue Devils and Alabama and different colleges, what are you doing, man? Like, why are you so spread out? Like, it's just one of my pet peeves. Like, stick to your guns. Like, if you have a good reason, please have a good reason. I don't like people who bandwagon. I can't stand people who bandwagon to other teams because they won so many championships. Like, that's like saying you're from Texas and you root for the Astros, but then you're a Yankees fan because of the 27 rings. Like, that's actually a really sad excuse. And I don't like it when Yankee fans say, "Oh, I'm a Yankee fan because of 27 rings." Like, have a good, valid reason.
I remember there was one guy. There was one guy on Colorcast. I can't remember where he was. I want to say that he was in West Coast area, but he said he claimed to be a Yankee fan because his dad was from there, but he didn't say that he was that he was brought up with the Yankees. It was kind of like Joel Embiid representing USA to honor his son. Give me a break. I mean, Joel
Give me a
Embiid,
break.
like, you know, you're not fooling anybody. You're not honoring your son. Why don't you honor your uncle and represent? Like Cameroon, they have a great team. They have Siakam. I think they have another NBA chip in there as well. But okay, you know, Joel, go win. Yeah, what yourself a gold medal you did in Paris, in LA. I have a feeling. Well, he probably won't be playing ever again. So, no, but I mean that kind of thing. It's disappointing. Kevin Durant to a degree as well, going to Golden State. I think that killed his legacy. But in terms of a fan perspective, yeah, you're not fooling me. You suck.
Yeah. Two clean, fresh takes. I like it. So we're coming to that point in the show now where we have to explain what's new in our social media and what we're doing content-wise. So we're going to start off with John. John, you mentioned that you were working on a radio station. What's new?
Well, we are assembling our antenna, and it's going on the roof this weekend. So we will be broadcasting live for our local community in probably 10 days.
That's
So I'm
awesome.
excited about that. Yeah.
That's amazing. All right. Lily, we talked this before off the air. What's new?
Honestly, not a whole lot. Just catching up on baseball. I would honestly say probably the best place to find anything new for me is gonna be my Twitter. Mostly retweeting and talking about Brewers, occasional Wisconsin sports stuff, but that, and then potentially, again, I've been working on for like 2 years, the rebranding and revealing of like Pitches Be Crazy, my podcast. So hopefully I can get that started back up again. But it's been in the works. It's just kind of been on a hiatus for the meantime, but hoping I can get back, jump back into that and get stuff going there.
We're all rooting for you to get back into it.
Thank you.
All right. Randy, what's new?
Oh, you know, just doing my thing. And with the NBA and NHL playoffs coming to an end very soon, I don't know how many podcasts I'm going to do during the summer, per se. I'd love to definitely jump on. With me, I'm more so interested in the sports issues and the matters away from the court. Maybe we could get into a little WNBA with me and my panelists. But yeah, it's unfortunate. Sports kind of takes a back seat. I mean, obviously, baseball is what it is. If it is an Olympic year, it's only so many shows in town as from a sports perspective. And for a guy like myself who's not overly interested in, say, the NFL combines and so on like that, NBA Summer League and such, I think it might be a little bit of a quiet period, but definitely hopefully to get a couple of episodes out there. So we'll see what happens.
And that's awesome stuff. So with me, obviously, I do Talking Baseball at Sal Angeletti every Sunday. I'm going to be going to Rider University this Sunday with Carl McGlosky and Sal Angeletti to do our latest episode. Father's Day, we're looking to pre-record an episode on the 13th because Father's Day, I can't miss celebrating my father to do a radio show all the way in Rider. And my father was in Staten Island. Also, I do the Equinox with my friend Carl McGlosky, who's also part of the previous show I mentioned. We do that every 2 or 3 weeks. We're looking forward to that because by the time that next show comes on, the NCAA baseball tournament will be over, and I'm looking forward to it. And obviously, just started this new thing with Foursquare Sports. So to give you a background, myself, John, Kevin, and Alec Nava were all part of a different show, and we decided to take our own talents elsewhere because we felt like we had so much more to offer. And so far, the reception's been good so far in the early stages. I'll never forget, I was calling Sammy, my girlfriend, and telling her that I was doing this. She's like, go for it, man. And I'm glad I took that leap of faith. And I'm glad that John and Kevin and Alec got my back 100%. And I'm glad that I've able to have guests like Lily and Randy who bring such great who contributed so great tonight. And have contributed to other parts of the Colorcast community. Not the Colorcast. Armchair Commentators Unite. Sorry. That's a great community as well. So this is actually perfect. Armchair Commentators Unite. The guy who runs it, Armchair, amazing dude. And also, if you want to catch Voice of the Fans Canada, that's Randy's show. Check him out on Twitter and YouTube and all of those social platforms. But from Lily, from Randy, from John, I'm Matt Sirianni. God bless you all. Thank you so much for tuning into the inaugural episode of Foursquare Sports. We look forward to more content in the weeks ahead and the months ahead. when baseball season is in full swing, which would be June 27th, we're going to have all baseball for a whole hour, hour and a half, depending on how things go. We're looking to have other guests on too, but obviously Lily and Randy, you're more than 100% welcome to come back on. You guys have been awesome. You guys have been awesome also for watching. God bless you all. This has been Foursquare Sports, Sports at Score. Take care, everybody.